All right, so today we are actually going to take some time to zombify ourselves. You're going to kind of make yourself look a little bit undead, we'll say. And there's a few ways of doing it. I want to show you a bunch of them. So the first thing we always do, we're going to go ahead on this background layer and Control J to make a copy. This one's protected. I don't want to do anything to it. I just want it to hang out there in case I need it. Okay? Now on this one, I've got to decide, do I want to change out my color? Do I want to make it a little bit more subdued? Whatever that is, again, notice I'm not going to my adjustments because you're going to be doing a lot of layering. With adjustment layers, you're going to have some troubles with those. So we're going to actually do it to the layer itself. Do not use this. You're going to go instead up to our image adjustments, and those are the same exact things as that adjustment layer menu I just crossed out. But these are pretty much doing it to the picture. So I'm going to go to hue and saturation. I can desaturate, make myself, well, this is not me, this is Alan B. Shepard. You can make yourself look a little bit more gray. You can also kind of change out the way the color goes into there, such as this, like where he's looking a little bit more green. Again, I really don't use the lightness and darkness in here, simply because I don't feel that it gives a good balance of what I need. So I'm going to give him a slight greenish cast, and then I could even go back, image adjust my levels, and that's what I was talking about with adjusting my lights and darks for my brightness. For my contrast, again, great word that we're learning about, I can really give that a better, maybe a darker feel. Maybe I don't want to pop up this white bright too much. Maybe I want it to feel darker, okay? So that's my first level, okay? I've kind of looked at my skin tone. I've looked at how bright or dark it is, and I've even changed the color of it a little bit. Do you have to change the color? No. There's a lot of varieties of things you can do, okay? Now, this very first one, you can also Control J. It kind of locks that in. This was my color edit, and I can lock that in as something that I can just kind of have there hanging out in case I go too far with this one. Next thing, we had our friends over here, and we had, let's see, our dodge tool, our burn tool, and our sponge tool. So those are some things that we practiced previous to this assignment. I really want you guys to look at that burn tool. Now, my burn tool is obviously much too big. Don't forget, shortcut. You don't have to go up here to decrease that. You can use your keyboard brackets that are located kind of above your Enter key. The left and the right bracket, you'll notice that it's a soft brush. The hardness level is way down so that when I zoom in with Control Plus, I can actually come in here and I can deepen up these values in certain areas, like around the eyes. That's a great place for it. Right now, I am darkening my highlights, but I'm also going to go to my midtones, maybe make it a little bit smaller and get into there a little bit. And then I'm going to say, I'm going to reduce this a little bit more so it doesn't happen as quick, so I can kind of blend it out a little bit, not make it overly shadowy in some areas, not like stripes, that sort of thing. So I can go in there and I can sort of darken around that face. I can come in here. I could additionally go in and I can darken up my shadows in some places if I so see fit. So again, that's my burn-in tool. Out of all of these in here, I would say your burn-in tool is going to be quite important versus your dodge tool. Then you have your sponge tool. So if you need something to look a little bit, whoa, that's big. It's a huge brush. If I want to take off some of that green color from in here, oh, I'm saturating. Again, watch out for that. I'm going to undo that. I'm going to desaturate, which means take that color away. And I'm going to make them a little bit more gray up in here. Maybe I feel like I just want to tone it down in some areas a little bit, okay? So that is him so far. Now, there are some other things that I want to show you. And again, I have to do this kind of quick because we have just a really short video. I'm going to lock that in. So this is my burn in. Again, do you have to keep copying? No, but it's almost like having an insurance policy. I go too far, I always know I can delete this one and go back and start again by Control J, okay? The last thing I really want to show you today is how to add in brushwork. When you add in various brushes, I'm going to suggest that you create a new layer right down here. You can create a blank layer and you can call this one Eyes, for example. So as I'm working into the eyes, I'm going to want to use this layer over the top. And you're going to need to also download brushes. If you look in your handy dandy table menu, you will find a little prompt in there that will help you through this as well. So make sure you take a look at that. We're going to go ahead and import some brushes. You may find your command is slightly different than mine. You might have a load brush. But again, this is what we call the cog wheel, C-O-G. That's the cog wheel. That's what you can kind of bump open to get to these things. As you follow through, the instructions are on your table. But basically, you're going to go, if you are in here at Shepherd, you're going to go to what's called the public drive. We haven't been there before. But this is where I can put things to share with you. You're going to go to public drive. You can go ahead to classes. You're going to find my name. And then you're going to find this folder called Teacher Handouts. Again, this is in your tabletop menu, so you don't have to memorize it. There's a brushes folder in there that you're going to want to go to. And these brushes will have various things. There's fantasy portrait brushes, makeup brushes, and tattoos and piercings brushes. So if I go into fantasy portraits, I can now go into eye color. So I have eye brushes. I'm going to select that and say load. Your menu will appear different than mine. If you scroll all the way down, you will find your eye brushes. Mine again will appear different from yours, but basically what we have here, let me go to I'm going to start with a red. That's my eye brush. I'm going to make that smaller with my brackets. And what I want to do is zoom in so I can make sure that this fits in his eye. Now this is too small, but one bigger is a little bit, no, maybe that one's actually okay. But in this case, I could go here and I could type a number and I could say 24 pixels. And that's a better fit for me. I'm going to click it once. Oh. I'm going to click it once. Oh, sorry. Would help if I was on my brushes. I was still on my other tool. So that would be what happened. So I know I need to go to a 24 point brush. And now we're in business. So there's my red to start with. You'll notice that it goes up and over the lashes. Now notice if I turn off the eyeball on all these layers, that's the only thing on that layer. So when I erase, I can get rid of that. So I'm going to turn this one back on. I'm going to come over to my eraser. That's this guy right over here. I am going to give myself, I'm going to kind of give it a harder finish. I need a smaller brush. I'm going to go even smaller, and I'm going to remove that so it looks like it's going behind his lashes. Okay? Now, with any of these brushes that you use, you also have the ability to come in here and use some of these layer blend modes that you guys should be familiar with. So, again, darken did nothing, but now I can use my arrows and I can tab down. And I can kind of watch and see what happens. Now, his eyes are very dark in this portrait. So if you have a brighter eye, you might find that the effect will be quite different. So let's say I love that one. Beautiful. I can now do the same kind of thing over here. I'm going to go back to my brush. It's still at 24. I'm going to go right here. I'm going to pop that one in. I'm going to follow my chain. I'm going to go ahead and erase what I don't want to see. And the eye layer is done. I could go back in there. There are many other eye brushes. Let me go back to my paintbrush. I'm going to go back to my paintbrush. There are other eye brushes like this one right here. It's really hard for you to see the effect of mine because it's basically a long streak. But this one in particular is much too big. Let me go. There we go. This would be like a center. Like if I really wanted, let's say I'm going to put like a shock of white in there. I'm going to center that. And you can't see anything because I have a blend mode. Let me put it on its own layer. White part of eyes. And I'm going to come back in. This one is not blending down, so you're going to see it right away. I can come over there, center it, and when I zoom out, there we go. We're getting in business here, okay? You'll see I've got that. And again, this one's on normal, but I could definitely go through and use a layer blend mode on it if I found something would be working a little bit better, okay? Again, I'm going to just go back to normal. We're going to get to a few other brushes so you guys are familiar with what's there. Again, go to your little cog wheel, and you're going to import your brushes or load your brushes. I'm going to go back, Fantasy Portraits. There are scar brushes, horror face brushes. There are sugar skull brushes, and those are different sort of decorations that you could put if you wanted to sort of make yourself more look like a sugar skull, like for Dia de los Muertos. We could go back again, and tattoos and piercings. I've got tribal tattoos. They're a little harder to come by to get these, but you can really try some different things. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to load some piercings in. Mine, again, opens in folders. You will see yours all the way at the bottom of your list. You'll be able to see it. So if I wanted to give them a lip ring, I could. Obviously, way too big. I'm going to make that smaller. Get it to a good place. And then again, I'm going to come in. Lip ring. I'm going to go ahead and I am going to add that on. I'm going to click it in there. Now that's a one-time click. It might not look as good as I want it to, so I might click twice to brighten it. And then I could go in with maybe a black over the top and click one time over it. I might need to do some effects on that. Again, this one's not looking as good as I would like it to look. So I can go back. I'm going to go back in my history, get rid of that, and maybe just try it in black and see what I think of it better. Now again, I'm really zoomed in. My picture is kind of a poor quality. But again, I want you to know that all of those brushes exist in there. Again, you're going to want to put things on their own layers so that you can add in a layer blend mode if needed. Okay, the last part of it is definitely make sure that you're giving yourself blank layers to put your additions on. Okay, if you don't give yourself a blank layer, you're going to run into a problem where if you're putting it directly on here and you need to erase, you're going to cut holes in your portrait. We don't want to cut holes in the portrait because it could look pretty bad. My, let's just say my more, do we want to say advanced? I don't know if we're going to say advanced. You do have the ability to smudge a little bit. So again, if you look down your menu, little below halfway, you've got a blur, a sharpen, and the smudge. The smudge is kind of fun because if you wanted to draw an eye out, you could pull those eyes. You could pull the corner of the mouth to be a little bit more sinister. Again, I only pull a little bit at a time because if you go too wild with it, you will end up with, I don't know, too much happening at once to where you have a hard time controlling where it's going, okay? So here, maybe a little bit more Joker-esque of a finish. Again, pull too much, it becomes more blurry, so definitely keep that in mind. You know, if I wanted to, I could zoom in, and again, sorry about the pixel picture. I could pull down on those teeth. Maybe make them a little bit more pointed. And again, I'm clicking up here and pulling it down. Click up here, pull it down. And if I zoom out, you can start to see kind of what's happening there. So again, this is not my feelings on Mr. Alan B. Shepard. I just thought it was funny because that's our school name. And it was an interesting way to kind of showcase these things. Again, make sure that when you're smudging, smudging has to happen on the picture itself. You can see I did it on this layer. If you smudge on any other layer, unless there's something there, it will not move. So those are the various things I would like you to try. Again, please take your time to experiment. You can also add in other layers of things. Like if you wanted to darken around the outside, you could absolutely go to the paintbrush. Let's go to just a normal general brush. And I could, let's go a little bit smaller. I could sort of darken and vignette that image. I could add some other things on. Again, just have some fun with it and really make these things look interesting and either funny or scary or comical, whatever that feeling is.